Good evening, everyone. My name is Edward Lim. I'm one of the branch directors here at Elite Prep. I am the branch director of Elite Prep Irvine Northwood. I'm so happy to be able to run this fourth seminar, I believe it was. I believe the other directors had amazing content, and I'm hoping that I can provide the same amount of insight as well as guidance throughout this session. We're going to go for maybe about 30 or 40 minutes or so. And once again, just kind of like what Jason shared, please do submit your Q&A function. Use the Q&A function to submit your questions, and I will get to them if the questions are relevant to what I'm talking about. If not, I'll try to answer as many as I can towards the end of the session. Now, today's topic is going to be on how to make colleges excited about your exceptional extracurriculars. And I do want to start with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer that I want to share is that every student is different. Every college application is different, or at least it should be. Therefore, I do want to highly encourage you to take everything that I say with a grain of salt and understand that everything may or may not apply to your student. I am going to speak today with the mindset that we're all thinking about applying to like the top 20 or 30 schools in the nation, with schools that have an acceptance rate of about 20 or 30% or less than that. And so please do understand that it may not apply to every single one of you, but you can learn from the content that we're going to be sharing today. And so I'm sure you heard this phrase before: give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for his lifetime. That's the mindset that I have for today's presentation. The goal is not for me to give you a list of activities for you to do, because if I give you a list of activities, the 100, 200 people who are here today may end up looking exactly the same on the college application. Rather, I do want to share with you guys on how to select strong and strategized extracurriculars to make you stand out and not blend in with everyone else. So this is what our agenda is going to look like for today. We are going to talk about the role of extracurriculars in the college application. We're going to talk about what colleges are looking for in their extracurriculars. I'm going to share with you 7 myths or common misconceptions that I hear from parents about extracurriculars. I'm also going to share with you how to decide your activities and how Elite can help. And at the end, we'll take a little bit of Q&A. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start with the UC application and how the extracurriculars plays a part in the college application for the UCs. First and foremost, the UCs will be looking at your academics, obviously, right? And the first thing that they're going to be looking at is your coursework as well as your GPA. In terms of the coursework, they're going to be looking at your high school classes. They're going to be looking at your college classes, and they're also going to be taking a look at any other AP classes or 4 credit classes that you've taken outside of your main high school. I'm sure you guys all know this by now, but SAT and ACT are no longer being looked at for admissions consideration at the UCs. They are absolutely test blind, and so submitting your SAT and your ACT score will have absolutely no merit or benefit in terms of admissions into their college. Another academic component that they look at is your AP scores or IB exam scores, and subject tests are also no longer being viewed. This is not a UC decision. College Board decided to get rid of their subject tests. Therefore, the only academic components that the UCs will be looking at is your coursework, your GPA, as well as your AP and IB exam scores. The next thing that they look at is your essays. It's also known as the personal insight question. And they ask you to write 4 essays for 350 words each on 4 out of the 8 topics that they give you. These are about, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs or so. And so they're not very long, but you do have to write 4 essays that are 350 words max. And obviously, the next item is going to be your activities list. The activities list, they give you up to 20 slots on the UC application. And many people don't know this, but you're allowed to put up to 20 slots. Now, as a side note, please understand that this is true as of today. When the application opens in August, They might have changed it. They could revise it. But as of now, as far as I'm aware, you still get 20 items that you can put on your activities list. To answer a question that just came in, is SAT blind for 2023? Yes, it is. SAT is test blind for 2023 for the UCs. Okay, I am not speaking about the private schools or out-of-state schools. This is specifically for the UCs. And within those 20 items on your activities list, you are given 300 characters, not 300 words. You are given 350 characters. Sorry, it was 350 characters to describe what you did. And here are the 6 categories that you can submit within those 20 items. You have awards, educational prep programs, which are things like Cosmos, extracurricular activities, other coursework that are non-A through Gs, volunteer or community service, and work experience. And one thing that I do want to clarify, because this is a question that I get asked very frequently, when I show this to my parents or when I do it at a seminar, the question that I always get is, does that mean the academics, the essays, and the activities are about 33% of the application? Is that how they weigh each of the components? That is absolutely not true. So there's no precise percentage on how each of the sections are weighed. And the reason for this is because the the UCs will evaluate their students based on their context. So the context is very, very significant to the UCs as well as the private schools as well. What this means is that a 4.4 GPA at your school may be amazing, but to a neighboring school, a 4.4 GPA could be very, very common. Likewise, this means that a student who comes from an area with lesser opportunities will not be expected to do as much as students who come from a district or an area that has abundance of opportunities. So the context of the student is also very, very significant. So no, the activity section is not 33% of the application. It depends on the students. Now, I do want to share with you what the activity section looks like on the actual college application. There is one question that came in, so I will answer this very quickly. Should you fill out all 20 items? Not necessarily, and we'll talk about quantity of activities in a bit. So if you look at the slide, you will see what the colleges will look at and what you will be submitting to the UCs. You're going to write the type of activity. So this one's an extracurricular activity. You'll title your activity. You will describe your activity in 350 characters. You will write or mark off which grades you participated in. And you'll also write the hours per week, as well as the weeks per year that you were invested in these activities. I do want to emphasize this very, very clearly, that describing your activity is equally, if not more significant than what you actually do, okay? And the reason why is because every year we help a handful of students with their college application. And I get a group of students who say, oh, I already finished my extracurricular list and the description. You don't have to look at it for me. But I say, no, I have to look at your descriptions. And so when I have them open up the extracurricular list and I read their description, what they do is they literally like crumple up their strong activities and throw it away in the trash can by the way that they describe it. Strong activities, if not described well, could give the perception that it was a very insignificant activity. And so the way that you describe your activity is equally, and if not more significant than the activity in and of itself. Likewise, a mediocre activity, if you describe it effectively and strategically, it can convey strong qualities about the students and give the perception that it was a significant activity. And so please note, and this is more important for parents because I think parents kind of overlook this section a lot. It's very important how you describe your activity, and you're only given about 350 characters to describe what you did. So every word counts in the description section. Now, I do want to jump over to the common application. The common application, for those of you who don't know, is it's an application that caters to thousands of colleges out there. They have private schools, out-of-state schools. It's one application where you can submit to multiple colleges. It's not for every college, but I would say majority of the colleges use what they call a common application to submit the application. And they have about 4 general components. The first component is the academic section, just like the UCs. They will look at your coursework as well as your GPA. This encompasses your high school coursework, college coursework, as well as other AP classes you took outside of your school or 4 credit classes that you took outside of your high school. SAT and ACT, now this I cannot say, across the board because this is different for every school. UCs have gone test blind, but for the private schools, majority of them have extended their test optional policy, which means that you can submit your test scores or not. They will not, negatively affect you if you don't submit your SAT or ACT score. Obviously, I'm sure you guys should all know this by now, that just because it's optional doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. If you can't do it, what can you do? If you can't, take the SAT, but if you can, it's always good to show them more information to go off of than lesser information. Some schools have gone test optional permanently. Some schools say it's year by year. Some schools have gone test blind permanently. We don't exactly know what every college is going to do in the future. But my understanding is that majority of the private schools and out-of-state schools out there have gone test optional for this upcoming school year. So this is the class of 2022. They will look at your AP or IB exam scores. And once again, College Board got rid of the subject test. And so subject tests will no longer be part of the academic component. They do have an essay section, but it's different from the UCs. They have one big common essay or the personal statement that's 650 words, and that will go to all of the private schools. So one essay that goes to all of the schools. And then each of the schools will have supplemental essays that you need to write. Some have 0, some have 1, some have 6, some have 7. So every college has a different number of supplemental essays that you need to write. One component that's part of the common application that's not part of the UC application is interviews. This is usually for like the top 10, top 20 schools, and letter of recommendations. For letter of recommendations, you have one counselor that you will get it from, usually, and you'll get it from about 1 or 2 teachers. Once again, this is just, usually it's 1 or 2 teachers. And you can also get an other recommender. This is non-teachers, non-counselors. It can be extracurricular, supervisors, or it could be your coach. It could be your, band conductor. It could be other letter of recommendations. Now, getting to our activities section, here's a major difference from the UC and the Common App. The UC had 20 slots for activities and awards. The Common App has 10 slots for activities and 5 slots for not any kind of awards, but for academic awards. So 10 activities and 5 awards, specifically academic awards. And you don't get to explain them in 350 characters, but you only get 150 characters. That's only about maybe 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 at most to describe what you did. Here are the big categories that you can submit your activities. We have art and music, clubs, extracurriculars, volunteers and community service, work experiences, as well as other experiences. Now, here's one thing that I do want to share about the Common Application. In the Common Applications activity section, you're able to select a subcategory under these headers. And here are the subcategories that you can choose. I want to make a personal recommendation because once again, this presentation is specifically for students who are shooting for the top 20 or top 30 schools in the nation. And if that's the case, what I recommend is to invest in academically driven extracurriculars. Okay, so I highlighted the ones that I believe would fall under that category. Okay, I cannot emphasize this enough, but ultimately colleges are not looking for strong, athletes or musicians or community advocates or founders of businesses and nonprofits. Ultimately, they're looking for strong students, right? And how do you show them that you're a strong student? Well, the more academic activities that you have beyond your high school will give evidence to the colleges that you are a strong student. Now, I do want to take this time to make a side comment that I'm not talking about uncommon circumstances. Uncommon circumstances are situations where you might be getting scouted because of your athletic abilities. You might be submitting like an art or music portfolio. You might be a child of a very famous person, right? Or you might have won an Olympic gold medal, right? These are uncommon circumstances. My understanding is that the 200 to 300 people who are signed in today, you don't fall under that category, most likely. And so this presentation, my suggestion is going to the common student who are, trying to get into the schools under an academic circumstance, who don't really have this unusual, uncommon circumstance that's gonna, be highlighted on their college application. And so if that is you, if you are trying to get into these top 20, top 30 colleges with your academic abilities, I highly recommend to make sure that you are highlighting and emphasizing some of these academically driven extracurricular activities outside of your high school. Now, moving on, I do want to show you what the colleges will see on the common application in terms of your extracurriculars. They're going to see the activity name. They're going to see the type of activity. They're going to see your grade that you participated in. They will see the hours per week. They will also see the weeks per year, as well as a 150 character description of your activity. Once again, the way that you describe your activity is very, very crucial, because the last thing that I want is for you to get into a once in a lifetime opportunity and throw it away by describing it ineffectively. So please make sure that you are double checking this section. I do want to now move on to our next section to talk about what are colleges looking for in your extracurricular activities. We talked about what they see on the college application, but what should we fill those sections with? The 20 slots that the UCs have, the 10 slots that the Common App has. How should we fill those activities to make sure that we look like exceptional students? One thing that I do want to recommend to our parents and our students is if there's a specific school that you want to try to get into, please look on their website. It's a great place to start. So for example, if you look at Harvard's website, let me go ahead and open this website real quick. It will give you a general overview, a general idea of what kind of students Harvard is looking for. Obviously, it even starts off by saying there's no typical Harvard student, but it will give you some questions to consider. And it's always good to prepare your college application well-informed than for you to go in blind and hope that it works. So if there's a particular school that you are interested in, feel free to go on their website and look for the type of students that they're looking for so that you can start strategizing and structuring your college application accordingly. Now, at this time, what I want to do is I want to share with you a quote from Stanford's website, because I think they said it the best. This is what Stanford says in their college application. We want to, in this type of students that they're looking for. We want to see your commitment, dedication, and genuine interest in expanding your intellectual horizons, both in what you write about yourself, probably in the essays and your extracurricular descriptions, and in what others write on your behalf. And I believe they're talking about the letter of recommendations. We want to see the kind of curiosity and enthusiasm that will allow you to spark a lively discussion in a freshman seminar and continue the conversation at a dinner table. We want to see the energy and the depth of commitment you will bring to your endeavors. Now, what is Stanford looking for? Stanford is excited and looking for students who are excited about something, right? They're looking for a student who's just not going with the flow and just going through what is given to them, but they are the ones pursuing after their passions, their drive, their dreams, their goals, and their curiosities, their intellectual curiosities. Colleges are not looking for students who say, you know what, Stanford, I'm really interested in computer science. If you admit me to your school, I will do amazing things through computer science. No, that's not what they're looking for. What they're looking for are students who say, you know what, I'm super excited about computer science. And these are the things that I've done with computer science so far. And these are the things that really excite me. And I want to continue my drive and my passion and continue to pursue my interest at your school. So what are we trying to say? The extracurricular activities list, they should serve as evidence of what you are excited about. Because it's not about what you do that they're interested in. It's really, they're looking for why you're doing what you're doing that makes it significant. And I also want to share with you this one quote that they also said that I thought was really interesting, that I think a lot of my parents will misunderstand. They say students often assume our primary concern is the number of activities in which a student participates. In fact, an exceptional depth of experience in one or two activities may demonstrate your passion more than minimal participation in 5 or 6 clubs. Now, I want to emphasize that the key word here is not 1 or 2, right? The key word here is exceptional depth of experience and your demonstration of your passion. Most Stanford-driven students, I will, uh, it's so obvious that they're going to have more than 1 or 2 exceptional activities. What they're trying to emphasize is that it's not the quantity of things that you do. They're looking for exceptional depth of experience. And I understand we're talking about Stanford, and many of you might be thinking, Stanford is like top 5 in the nation. Like, I'm not even shooting for Stanford. And so I do want to share with you real quickly what the UCs are saying about their admissions process. Recently, the LA Times interviewed the UC admissions counselors, and these are some of the quotes that came out from the admissions counselors. This is what UC Irvine said. Major matters. At UC Irvine, the admissions counselors shared that they had a record number of applicants of 108,000 applicants for the high school class of 2021, which is the current season. And almost half of the students applied to just 6 out of 85 majors, with biological sciences being at the top of their choice. 12,000 applicants applied as a biological science major. And the other popular majors were business admin, nursing science, computer science, as well as psychology. Now, just a pop quiz, or here's a trivia. How many seats do you think UC Irvine has for biological science students? They have about 3,000 seats for bio majors. And so that's about approximately, is it 25% that they are admitting? And if you think about it, 25% is actually not a bad percentage, right? But I want you to imagine this. Imagine that someone gave you 12,000 students and said, choose 3,000 students that you believe are the most qualified. How would you go about choosing the 3,000 students? Some people might say, oh, just go off of the GPA. But like I said earlier in the seminar, that, context is so important, that a 4.4 in one district or one school may be amazing, may not be amazing, depending on the context that you come from. Do we just accept the top however many students from each school that applies to, UC Irvine? Is that fair? Well, this is what UC Santa Barbara did. UC Santa Barbara, the director of admissions, said that they looked at evidence of sustained passion. What that means is if they've expressed a love for science, that they take 4 years of the subject matter. If they expressed a love for science, did they join any related clubs or join any summer programs related to that specific major or field? Now, keep in mind that UC Santa Barbara is ranked about 30 this year. UC Irvine is ranked about 35. So they're not even in the top 20, top 30 list. And they're saying that extracurricular matters. Now, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but the reality is that the college pathway is getting harder and harder each year. And if I ended this presentation here, you'll probably walk away a little bit hopeless because, UC Irvine just a few years ago used to be safety schools for many of our students. But the reality is that's not the case today. And I don't want you to walk away today thinking my child is hopeless. Like she has no chance and even getting into UC Irvine. That's not what I want to instill today. I don't want you to lose hope. Yes, the college pathway is getting harder every year, but to be totally honest, it's getting harder every year. So what's new, right? The truth of the matter is that as long as you're well informed and that you're educated about the college pathway, as long as you plan your college pathway as well as, your activities, you will have the best chances of getting in to these seemingly impossible schools to get into. So at this time, what I want to do is I want to share with you some myths about extracurricular activities, as well as some questions to consider when you are deciding on your extracurriculars to have the best chances of getting into your top choice of school. So here are some myths about extracurricular activities. Number one, strong activities make up for low grades. Unfortunately, that is not true. Now, once again, I'm not referring to the uncommon circumstances where you're getting scouted or where you're submitting an art portfolio, or I don't know, you're child of a famous person or something of that sort. This is for just an ordinary student. Strong activities will not make up for your low grades. Grades and your academic components must be a foundation to your college application. Number two, community service and volunteering is required. It is not required. You don't have to do any community service or volunteering to get into these schools. And the question that I get asked as a follow-up is, if it's not required, should I still do it? Well, that depends. It depends on your student. And some of the questions that I will pose in the next slide will help you determine whether you should, or maybe you'll choose not to partake in community service or volunteering. Number three, school clubs, ASB, and etc. is enough? Usually not, right? Schools want to see how much how you're using the resources outside of your high school as well. Number four, activities must be diverse. This is absolutely not true. You don't need to do a little bit of music, a little bit of sports, a little bit of volunteering. That is not what the colleges are looking for. It's absolutely okay for you to be skewed in the activities that you are doing. But I do want to just mention that every school is a little bit different. Number five, paid summer programs are impressive. This is a myth. And this is the most heartbreaking one to share, because I know some of our parents here spent thousands of dollars on their students already. But I don't want you to feel like you wasted any money. Summer programs, paid summer programs are not bad. They're just not impressive. So how do we make it impressive, or what are colleges looking for if you already took, or if you're planning on taking, participating in a summer program? The real question is not which program did you get accepted into. The real question is, so what did you do afterwards? If you did research, did you continue to do research? If you did a computer science bootcamp, did you develop anything with the skills that you've acquired through this program? So it's not the program in and of itself that is impressive. It's what you make of the program that makes it worthwhile. Number six, quantity over quality. Like I shared with the Stanford quote, it's not the number of activities that you do that is, that makes it outstanding. It's the quality of the activity. And lastly, sports, music are exceptional activities unless you're getting scouted, unless you're submitting a portfolio. Sports and music usually fall under a hobby category, which is usually the lowest tier of extracurriculars. Once again, this is different for every student, and I'm not saying that everyone should drop out of their sports and music activities. All I'm saying is that that in and of itself will not be impressive to the colleges. Now, with that said, I do want to share with you 3 steps in determining how to choose which activities to participate in. And these are not a checklist. I'm not saying that you should be able to answer every single one of these questions. It's a guiding question. These are guiding questions. I want you to consider these questions when you are deciding on which extracurricular activities to participate in. So number 1, step 1, the theme and story. How does the activity fit in with and support the theme and story of your college application? What is the story of your college application? What is the theme of your college application? Many of my students who come to us for help have a little bit of everything, and there's really no focus to their college application. And it's really hard to try to convince the colleges that you're a strong candidate for, let's say, for example, pre-med, computer science, engineering, English, whatever major you're selecting. It's a little bit hard to defend that you are a qualified student for this. And it doesn't have to necessarily be your major. It could be social justice. It could be environmentalism. Whatever it may be, you want to consider the theme and the story of your college application. What kind of student are you going to apply as is the main question that you should be asking. Now, once again, I'm not saying that you should drop out of all of your sports and music and all of that stuff. I just don't want you to fall into this trap. And the trap that a lot of students fall into is they will draft an application that sounds like a music student with an interest in pre-med. Rather, you should submit your application as a pre-med student with an interest in music. Does that make sense? So if you're applying as a pre-med student, you shouldn't have music and sports and all of these non-pre-med components as the core component of your application. No, it should be filled with bio-related stuff, science-related stuff, research-related stuff. And on the side, you should share that you're also interested in music as well as sports and other activities that you are participating in. So once again, don't fall into the trap of being a music student who's interested in pre-med. You should make sure that you're emphasizing that your story and your theme is that you are a pre-med driven student who is also interested in some of these side activities. Now, the second component that you should consider is, are you impressing the colleges? Number one, will this activity make me a more qualified or desirable college candidate? Now, once again, colleges are not looking for, athlete students. They're not looking for, artistic students. They're looking for academic students, right? They're looking for students who will thrive academically at their school. So make sure that the activities that you are showing off to the colleges will give evidence to the fact that you're a, strong candidate for their college. And number two, will this activity wow the admissions readers, right? The wow factor. Does your activity, impress the colleges and make them say, wow, I can't believe a high school student was able to accomplish this level of activity? Or will they feel like, oh, I've seen thousands of students who have done whatever it is that you're presenting to them, right? Now, all 10, all 20 activities cannot have a wow factor, right? However, you do want to make sure that you do have a wow factor, right? That at least one of your activity will wow the admissions counselors. And do you know what's a really good gauge of this? Not your parents, because your parents are easily wowed by their students. Usually, if you present it to an elite counselor, a director will be experienced enough to say, you know what, this activity is not as impressive as you think. Or they might be able to say, you know what, this is an amazing activity. So in short, I do recommend consult a elite counselor when in doubt. Now, some of the smaller questions that I think you should ask are questions that are to instill confidence in the college counselor's decision of you. Number one, does this activity make you look unique, or do you just blend in with everyone else, right? Does the activity highlight any significant qualities about your personality? Things like leadership, creativity, your intellectual curiosity. It could be a heart for social justice. Whatever it may be, does it highlight any significant qualities about your personality? Does the activity show promise in your intended major? And furthermore, does the activity show promise in your contribution to the college campus? And this is a very, very significant question. I spoke to a UPenn admissions counselors a few years back, and then she explained it very, very well. This is what she said. She said, we are looking for students who need minimal guidance on what they want to accomplish. We don't want students who sound like they're going to be cooped up in their dorms. Rather, we're looking for students with high energy and promise through evidence that they will thrive at UPenn, both in and outside of the classroom. And what evidence are they looking for? They're looking for evidence through their extracurricular, that they're not going to be just cooped up in their dorms and just, I don't know, studying all day, but in their extracurriculars, they are showing you, Penn, that they're going to thrive both inside the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. And lastly, how selective is the activity? Selectivity does help in making your activity look strong. But as a side note, please make sure you define how selective your program is in the description, because colleges are not, aware of all of the thousands and thousands of programs that are out there. They might know the popular ones, but if it's a program that they've never heard of and you don't explain how selective it is, they might not know how significant that activity is. And so these are some questions for you to consider when you're deciding on which activities to participate in. Now, at this time, I do want to share with you an interesting result that I found this admission season. So we helped about 50 students, and there were about 4 students who kind of stood out to me. And so I kind of evaluated them and tried to figure out, what happened with their college application. And these are students who applied to UC Irvine. And here are 4 students A, B, C, and D, with their GPAs, their AP exam scores. And once again, there's no SAT, there's no subject tests that were submitted. And so these are the academic components that were submitted to the colleges. Now, keep in mind, I am omitting the essay section. And so this is not a complete picture of the students. And I'm not sharing this to say that this is an absolute thing for UC Irvine. I'm not saying that the sole reason that these students were accepted or denied is because of extracurriculars. All I'm saying is this is what happened to these 4 students during this admission cycle. Now, we have students A and B who have a relatively lower GPA, a 3.9 and a 3.7, and a student C and D who have a much higher GPA, a 4.3 and a 4.4. Now, I'm sure you guys have all guessed why I'm showing you this, and that's because they had mixed, results with their admissions into UC Irvine. Student A and student B were both accepted, and student C and student D were denied. And what were the major that they were applying with? They were applying with biology, performance, engineering, and biology. Now, while I was kind of evaluating and analyzing these students, obviously there's really no way for me to find out exactly why they were denied or accepted. But when I looked at their extracurricular, here are some of the things that I found. Student A, she actually came to America, I believe, at the beginning of 9th grade. So she attended an international school all the way up until 8th grade, came to America for the first time, and entered 9th grade. As soon as she entered 9th grade, she became heavily involved in the Red Cross, both in and outside of the school. And she also began teaching math and science to her local middle school. Student B was actually a performance major. So she would be kind of like the uncommon circumstance, right? She was an outstanding clarinetist. She also got into UCLA, Vanderbilt, Rochester, as well as Case Western. And so student B is an example of an outlier circumstance, an unusual circumstance. Student C applied as an engineering major, had a 4.3 GPA, relatively strong AP exam scores, and he was involved in academic decathlon. He interned for a bio firm. He volunteered at a homeless shelter. He also was part of a miscellaneous club, I believe like chess club and things like that, but had absolutely zero engineering experience. And unfortunately, he was denied. And lastly, this 4.4 student who was a bio major, she was part of the Girl Scouts, part of the robotics club at her school, participated in martial arts for a few years, was captain of, I believe, her tennis team, and no major science experiences in her activities. Unfortunately, while I slightly disagree with this result, this 4.4 student was denied from UC Irvine, while this student, student A with a 3.9 with the same exact major, was accepted. Now, once again, I'm not trying to say that this is the formula. I'm not trying to say that the extracurriculars were the precise reason why they were admitted or rejected, but it's something for us to consider. Now, to do a quick recap, these are the questions. Once again, they're not checklists for you to consider. These are just things for you to think about when you are deciding on your extracurricular activities. And one of the things that I tried my best not to do is to not mention specific activities for you to participate in. And the reason why is because, once again, if I say, I think research is an amazing activity, okay, so I just did it right there, but then all 300 of you guys might go and seek out research activities and end up looking all identical to each other. And not just that, but maybe research doesn't fit in with your story. Maybe research doesn't fit in with your theme. Maybe that's not the direction that you're trying to go in. Maybe that's not what you are excited about. And once again, remember, colleges get excited about students who are excited about something, but you might just be doing it because you think it's the formula, but there is no specific formula. And so one thing I do want to encourage you is that with these questions in mind, I do ask that you consult an elite director or a counselor who will help you strategize your college pathway, because it is very difficult and it is very hard to figure out which activities are significant and unique and good if you don't have the experience of knowing what thousands of other students are doing out there. And so please do seek help in order for you to have a unique and exceptional and qualified list of extracurriculars that you can show the colleges. And hopefully you'll be able to submit your college, your activities list with confidence, with excitement, because that's what the colleges are looking for. And I do want to wrap up with this, the heart of extracurriculars. And I think the question that I get asked often, which I believe is the wrong question, is that parents and students will come up to me and ask me this question: what do I need to do? Or who do I need to become for the colleges to be excited about me? And what they're really trying to ask is, what do I need to do and who do I need to become for me to be admitted into their college? But I think the real question that we should be asking is, what or who do you want to become? Like, what excites you? What is your passion? Like, who does your heart break for in your community? And how are you able to use your skills and talents to make a difference to your community, to the people around you, and so forth? Because colleges get excited about students with exceptional activities. This is absolutely true. But the reality is that there isn't a preset list of exceptional activities. If there was, I think Elite would make so much money just selling these lists. But the truth of the matter is that there is no preset list of exceptional activities. Rather, a student who is genuinely and wholeheartedly pursuing what they love, what they believe in, with excellence and resilience, these students make their activities exceptional. So it's exceptional students that make the activity exceptional, because ultimately colleges are excited about the person, right? About the exceptional student. They're not just excited about their activity. And so I do want you to really take this as kind of food for thought. It's not about the activity that you do, but it's about who you are that makes the activity exceptional. And so with that said, I do want to share with you just very briefly how Elite can help with your extracurricular decisions. A lot of people think that Elite is an SAT tutoring center or just a test prep center, but that's actually not true. Elite actually offers a lot of programs in many, many components of their the educational pathway. We do have SAT prep, ACT prep. We also have college application services. We also have AP classes for credit. We also have dual credit classes that you will get college credit and high school credit for. But on top of that, we do also have extracurricular activities. The reason why we have these extracurricular activities is because we understand, especially after the pandemic hit and all of the activities of our students were canceled, we realize that it's so important for students to have strong extracurricular activities. Who would be better to create these activities for the students? And I want you to know that when Elite creates these lead extracurricular activities, we do it with your college application in mind. So all of these programs will benefit you, not just in the skill sets and in the program in and of itself, but also in your college application. We do have 3 new programs that we're launching this summer. The brand identity, which is an intro to graphic design class, code development for beginning coders, and a social media marketing, strongly recommended for business students. And so if you are interested in any of our extracurricular activities, please do check out our website. That does have a list of all the activities that we have this summer. And always feel free to reach out to your local home branches, your elite branches, to inquire about these programs. Now, at this time, I do want to answer a few questions that may not have been answered yet. So let me just quickly look through these questions real quick. Let's see. A question came in regarding medical school. So what activities would be great for medical school? Now, I do want to answer this correctly. As a high school student, you're not applying to medical programs. When you apply to medical schools, you will apply after college. Therefore, the activities that you will be submitting to these med schools are not high school activities. They will be undergraduate activities. So you don't have to worry about medical school activities just yet. You'll take care of those once you get into your undergraduate program. Is writing in an extracurricular activity that was only 4 days long discouraged? Not necessarily. It really depends on the activity, because some activities are just 1 week in length, but that activity could be a very, very strong component. And so it really depends on what the activity is. Is 350 characters for all extracurricular activities or for each activity? Now, that's a good question. And what I recommend is for you to open the UC application. Pretend that you're a student and just open a UC application and see what you can input, because it's a little bit confusing for me to explain, because some activities have 350 characters for just the description. Some activities you have to describe the organization and you have to describe the activity. So it's a little confusing, but I do recommend to open the UC application and see it for yourself. If I already took the ACT, is it necessary to submit the ACT? I believe is the question. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you have a strong score, I would highly recommend. Is it SAT is what you're referring to? If you already took the ACT, is it necessary to take the SAT? You don't have to. If you have a strong score with the ACT, I don't recommend taking the SAT to see what score you get, unless you feel you can do better with the SAT. Would you say that being more well-rounded is preferable in being too pointy in admissions? That's a great question. It depends. It depends on the school that you're applying to. Some schools may look for a little bit more well-rounded students. Some schools might look for very, very skewed math geniuses, science geniuses. And so it really depends on the school that you're applying to. But my general recommendation is if you're going to be well-rounded, make sure that you are exceptionally well-rounded and you're not just mediocre well-rounded. Okay. Okay, I know there's a lot of questions that came in. I believe I answered most of these questions. Well, having a high number of volunteer hours, 500 plus, impress colleges. I think it's a good start, but it depends, right? If you volunteered at the library for 8 hours a day, but you don't really care about volunteering at the library, you just did it, then no, I don't think it's going to be that impressive. But if you do 500 plus hours for an organization that you care about, that you're passionate about, then I think that would be very impressive. So it depends. Okay, so I think a lot of these questions have already been answered. I know some of them are very, very specific. And so for the questions that are very specific, I highly encourage you, because a lot of these questions I can answer it, but I feel like it'll only apply to this one particular person. And so I highly encourage you to consult your local elite director, and they will have an answer for you. And so, I'm looking through these questions. A lot of them are very, very personal, or I have already answered them. And so, someone's asking if there's going to be a recording. I believe this will be recorded and uploaded onto our YouTube channel. And so please do check out our YouTube channel in the next few days. So with that, I guess, given the time, Jason, I'll pass it over back to you.
All right. Thank you so much for that Wonderful information, Mr. Lim. Yes, and as Edward said, we received a lot of great questions that Edward wasn't able to get to today. If we didn't get to him, please talk to your local elite branch director or counselor. If you haven't yet taken classes at Elite, if you're new to Elite Prep, set up a free consultation. All you have to do is go to eliteprep.com/locations, or it's easy to find on the website. Our counselors would love to answer your questions. As Mr. Lim mentioned, we've got a variety of extremely exciting programs for students all the way from grades 5 through 12 this summer, starting in June. Right about the middle of June, most of our branches start their programs. Both online and in-person options are available this summer. We've got AP courses for credit, dual credit college courses if you're really looking to get a leg up on the competition, Korean language courses that you can finish in just a few weeks. If you want to sign up your student up for summer school at Elite, we've got a wide variety of classes to help students raise their GPA significantly in just a few weeks this summer, and add a great rigorous class to their transcript too. Since this webinar is about extracurriculars, let me repeat one more time. For students who are looking to add some really impressive extracurriculars that they can brag about on their college applications, we've got that amazing selection of lead extracurricular programs. I think we've got a dozen different programs happening this summer that are open to students everywhere. Those are all online. Students from anywhere can participate. Just go to eliteprep.com to learn more. If you are planning to apply to any test optional or test required schools, basically anywhere that's not the University of California, or if you're planning on applying to UCs plus other schools as well in the next few years, and you want to build up an excellent SAT or ACT score, we are, of course, offering our legendary summer SAT and ACT boot camps, both online and in person this summer too. We're also, if you're, no matter where you are in the process, we're offering free diagnostic tests for the SAT and ACT. You can find those on our website too. And finally, if you're a rising senior looking for help on college apps, help with essays, editing, writing those essays, compiling your college or your high school resume, putting your best foot forward on those college apps, we have some amazing college application services, packages for UCs, Common App, private schools. If you're looking for help getting through this really confusing time in college admissions, let us know how we can help. That's what we're here for. We have everything you need to get into the college of your dreams. Whether you're in grade 6 or grade 11, the time to start your college prep is right now. So give us a call, send us an email, fill out one of our inquiry forms on our website, eliteprep.com, to set up a free diagnostic test and consultation. All right, that is all the time we have for today's webinar. Thank you so much for coming tonight, everyone. Stay safe, and we will see you next week.